Vous ne le voyez pas, mais ça y est, nous sommes en direct. Donc bienvenue au Gamelier, and I'm gonna speak in English because even if we are in Paris, maybe you're listening in English. And Adrien is gonna give us a presentation tonight about this game. So it's about board games and science. So Adrien was at the CRE last year already, yeah. And yeah, he's gonna present you his work. So I just put his presentation and he's gonna start. All right. Poof. And we are good.
Okay, so hello everybody. So for people in the audience, sorry, I will speak just in front of the camera. For people in front of their screen, sorry, I'm speaking in English, but all the slides are in French. So I will try to translate what is in the slides, so you will be able to understand what I have written. So I will speak about education board games, and board games we can use in education, and more especially some games I create. So I will just start with a phrase from Platon who says, we know more on someone by playing 1 hour with someone than chatting with him with 1 year. So with this I say, okay, let's try to play. And how do I change the slide? Okay, so if you want to know, my name is Adrien. I think I have already said it, and I've just finished my PhD. So to start with my formation and who am I? So for the moment, I'm a 27-year guy who just finished his PhD, but I will talk from where I began. So how do I begin? I began with a scientific formation. So like you can see, I start with the game J'achète, with a French game where I think you can deal with €5 maximum. And then I already start loving counting in maths and giving money and making subtraction. So then I will start to manipulate more money and more numbers. So I played La Bonne Paye and Monopoly. But just to say that since the beginning, I've always been interested by sciences. And so more especially, I try to discover physics. So why physics? It's because I love logic and forces, and to think about scientific with scientific way, which is kind of proper to physics. And I was not very interested in mathematics, so that's why I study physics. And at the same period, I learned to play Risk, which changed a lot for me because it's some kind of game where you have to be logic and play with people and deal with people. And for me, it's the first real game I play, because I like to say there is some games that are not really good game or really playing game like the game before. Even if Monopoly is loved and played by so many people, it's just people that don't really know what are good games. If you only play Monopoly, I'm sorry for you. If you play all other games, you understand what I say. So then I discovered biology with a lot of interaction in biology, and I present to you this game. I don't know how it is in English, the name in English, but in French is Service Compris, and it says about everything about alliance. In French is alliance, embrouille, and trahison. So in English it's like making allies, betrayed, or hit them in the back when they are on the ground, and when they are on the ground you continue hitting them until they are dying, even if it's your best friend and your best ally. Just sometimes you love hitting people when they are weak, and this is a good game to do that. And it was kind of first game with a lot of interaction. And just to make the parallel with biology, because in biology you have always a lot of interaction, and I think it's a good parallel. And what I love at the end is the interface between physics and biology. So I put the game Agricola, which is not, I think, the best representation, because I would say that Agricola is only math and calcul, but it's more to symbolize what kind of game I like. It's game where you have to think a lot, but in the same way there are very lot of exchange with people, and you are very having fun and deal with people. So if you know Agricola, you know that it's not really the game where you share and you have a lot of fun with the other guy playing. You are just in front of your table and playing. So it's why I say it's more math game, but if you play a bit, it will be more than Catan Colon, or I don't know, other games which are more fun, but you have to think a bit more and they are more interactive. So now I'm speaking about one other experiment, which was my first experiment with, in fact, teaching and games. So I have to create a contest. So on the left, you can see picture of animals living in the deep sea, so in the abyss. So I presented those animals on a website, and I show them, I describe them, and I explain how the life was in deep sea. And then the students, so which were more or less between 10 and 16-year-old young people, have to create new animals. So you can maybe see on the right the kind of 3 animals I prefer, and they explain why those animals were adapted to life in deep sea. So in fact, it's the first example I have where you can have some kind of game. So here it's a contest, but it's still a game because you can have fun, you can create something very, very unusual. And because it's on the deep sea, I can maybe tell you that you can think that some of the animals on the left are not really real, but you know, it's something like not teaching in the usual way, but teaching by contest. And you know, when they present their new species, the children really work a lot on understanding what is the deep sea, what is the evolution, how those species are adapted. And it was, I think, a very good experience, and they learned stuff they would have not learned in more correct, more general way of teaching science. So it was the first way I say, okay, I want to teach students differently, and more especially teach with game, even if it was not really a game. I forget how I change slide.
Just click on
Perfect. So I'm continue to speak while someone is helping me. Okay, yeah, I'm just stupid. So what is now my vision about educative games? So in the game I create, for me, the first thing which is important is game. Because you create a game to make people learn. You don't want people learn through a game. Like, I don't know, there is a lot of educative games that are boring. They are not really game. It just, I say, oh, the parents are very happy because they think they are making a game, but there is nothing fun. So when I create something, I want to first create a game, something to play, and you can play it without learning anything. And that's the important point. If you don't want to learn anything, you will not learn. So it's not some kind of question-answer type game or something like this. No, it's just we play, we interact. And in fact, if you want to be better, you should learn the science behind the game, or the science, because I'm making science game more often, but it can be something else. And so you can play without learning, but learning will make you be better at the game, and that's the point of everything. And sometimes you will learn stuff without even knowing you are learning something, and that's something that is much more better, and I will explain you in the in the next game. So one example of this kind of game where learning make you being better at the game. It's so in French we have a website that is called Vie de Merde. So it's like my life sucks, more or less. So it's a website where you write a sentence about something where your life was very sucking, like, oh, I buy a very nice present for my girlfriend, and I come back to my house and she was kissing like my cousin or my brother. So you post it on this website, and generally the more it's a shame for you, the more people like it, and the more people will see it. So we take the best sentence and we say that people by team will have to mimic, in fact, this sentence, and the last one will have to find what is the sentence. So I restart everything because in the audience I just see people saying what he is telling us. So in fact there is kind of 5 players. The first one read a sentence and then decide to mimic the sentence to the second one. The second one sees the mimic, then reproduce the mimic to the other one until the last one. And the last one just sees the mimic and try to build the sentence. And the closest he is from the initial sentence, the more he will have points. And if you are tense, you have the 2 teams of 5 people, and the one with the most points wins the game. So with this game, in fact, you can just play like this without trying to learn anything. But with a sentence, we give you a number that you can put on YouTube. And in YouTube, you will see a video of French sign language. So it's a game for French people, but I'm just explaining you the concept. And if you love it, maybe contact me. We can say work with something in English, but I don't know anything in English for sign language. So I just move on with this stupid remark. So in fact, at the end, you have a sentence. The sentence will be translated in sign language, and then the people with just making the translation in sign language will just give a short course on sign language. And in fact, learning sign language will help you maybe to understand how to mimic better or how to use some tricks. And in fact, by learning stuff, you will be better at the game. And if you are, because sign language is very interesting, and it's very a new way to think how to speak without phrasing, and it will be much more efficient to even mimic and not just learn sign language with this way. And it helps you if you want to learn sign language. It's a way to make an initiation to sign language. So this is the one of my game I develop, and we are currently developing it to have more sentence and some traduction from sign language, which is not always easy to do. So I come back to other way to learn with games. So you can learn with 3 different type of games. So you can use games that are already existing and give a scientific context. So for example, in course we use Mastermind or Kauna and make people thinking to resolve Mastermind in a research way process to make them think as researcher, or we use Kauna to make them working as making connection and working on connection, and then the student plays the game and try to make a link between the science and the way to play and try to play better by having scientific way to think. Then you can work and adapt some games that are already existing. So I will speak about some games after, but it's kind sometimes hard because you have right, and if you want to publish this game everywhere and use it everywhere, sometimes you can have problems. But it's kind of easy because some people have already worked on the game and you have just to modify some concept, and it's much more easier. I will come back to it later. And then the last way to create game is just to create your own game to really make them fitting with what you want people to learn. I will also come back to this because it's the last type of game I develop. So adapting game existing. So I just show you 3 games we change and make them evolve. So first we use a Jungle Speed. That maybe you know it. So it's a game where when you have the same figures than one other player, you just take a card, you put the card where there is strange figure, and when 2 people have the same cards, you just pick a totem. And so we do the same thing with chemical molecular formula. And so it's the same game. You just look at the formula, you try to just pick the totem when you see the formula, and it helps you to be familiar with chemie, and it can help you to learn some stuff in chemie. Then we have a timeline, so we create a scientific timeline, and it's good because in our teaching we are interdisciplinary, and in fact a lot of students come with different backgrounds, so we ask them to create a background, some cards from their background where there are scientific facts, and you need to know in what year it was discovered, and so it makes people understand what kind of area is new, what is ancient, and what are the link between the different fields. And the last one is one of them I prefer. So you should all know what is a mastermind. So mastermind is in fact a code breaker, and you have to work with different color and to find the opposite sequence created by the code maker. In fact, instead of working with color, we say, why should we not work with DNA bases? In fact, you replace the color by the letter from DNA, and you make, instead of having 4, you make 6 possible combinations. So now you have the 4 letters of DNA, and you have to find what are the 2 different codons. And it's kind of new way by learning to make people learning biology. So at the beginning, people just have to find the DNA sequence of their opponent. Then they have to find, for the progression of the learning, the opposite sequence, so the sequence which will be translated by the code breaker. And then you have to find the 2 codons created by the sequence of the code maker. I'm not sure it's obvious for everyone. I'm sorry for the one who are just listening me and not here in the audience, because we will maybe play this game and you miss something. So last one is the creation of 2 games. So tonight we will also play 2 games I create. One is kind of cool and the other one have not ever already been played. So it may be a crap, but we will see it later. And maybe you have the chance not to play it tonight. So I will first start with the race of the colony, and then I will say with vente au corps à la science, which more or less can be translated, so sell your body to science, which is a game where you should sell your organs, and I hope nobody is from healthcare is looking at this video. If you are, sorry. So let's start with this game, Sell Your Body at Science. In fact, it's kind of auction game where you should have family card of the different family, like the skeleton, the muscles, the digestive organs, the organs for immune system and stuff like that. And your objective is to make the more money by selling the better family of organ or the most complete family of organs. So I have nothing more to say about this game. And the last game will be Race for the Colony. So it's a bit inspired of Race for the Galaxy for the one who know it, but it's completely different. I hope so. So you have 3 elements in the games. In fact, you have cards in your hands that you will put on the table to make in your Petri dish. So in fact, your objective is to have the bigger colony of cells. So you have card in your hands, you have the Petri dish, and you will put the card from your hand in the Petri dish to create the bigger colony. And for that, you have 4 rounds, and each round is filled with some stuff. Okay, this sentence does not mean anything. I'm sorry. Each round has 3 different steps. First, you develop your cells. Yes, then you have to feed your cell, and then there is a major event that can change everything in the game. So what are the different actions possible? And now you see that the slide is in English. It's kind of better improvement. So for develop your cells, you have 4 different kind of action. Even if it starts at 2, it's 2, 3, 4, 5. It just made 4 kind of actions. So the first actions, that is, you can find food. So by finding food, you will just pick cards. Then you can grow your cells. So you have a cell, and you can put a cell that is 1 level more. Then your cells can divide, and you can put a similar cell than the one you have in your plate. And then you can mutate, and by mutate, you are changing the kind of cells you have. And when you do that, you can have more power, but it's hard to explain in this video. So it was my last slide, and I hope this helps you a bit. If you want, if you have question, you can ask a question. I will try to answer you in the website, or I don't know how it's possible, but I will try to do it. And for people in the audience, if you have question, I can try to answer now, and then we can play. And I will be glad to present you all my game. So is there a question, or maybe we shoot the video? I don't know.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I can repeat the question so people. Yeah.
I'm not sure how you learn things about science and the DNA of game. It's just because it's just like a combination of codes, and it's just like it's not intuitive or it's not strategic. It's just like randomly.
Yeah, for the mastermind game.
Yeah.
So the question is how we learn stuff with the mastermind game. So you have to think that it's a game for people who don't know anything about biology or just the basic, and it's to learn about DNA. So at the beginning, they just think they are making a game with like a mastermind classical, but with name on the inside of color. And then at the beginning, they just have to find the same sequence. Then it's the opposite sequence. So you have already the idea of combination, like A go with T and G go with C. Is that clear? And then when you have a sequence at the last step, so the first step is just you find the combination, then you find the opposite combination, and at the end you have to find the amino acids. So when you have the combination of 3 bases, it creates a sequence, and this sequence will form an amino acids. So you have to find at the last step of the game the amino acid corresponding to the sequence, and you have all the genetic codes. And in fact, people don't learn really anything if you don't give the scientific background behind. It's just kind of game where you have different steps, but then they are in a state of mind where they are ready when you teach them how biology works. You say, now you have bases, and in the DNA, these bases are coupled together, and there will be something that will translate this DNA basis by a set of 3 to create an amino acid. And the amino acid after will produce the protein. And this is just a game that will help to teach, and we use already this game in high school. So, and one of the main inputs from the high school teacher who says, at least now the children remember which base go which base when they are paired together, and says, okay, it's a little something, but it's already a thing, because sometimes they have trouble to say which one is going with which one. So it was the first step. And yeah, after, I don't know how it was really presented because I was not in the course, but I think it can be a good introduction, but sometimes it's not easy to do. Is there another question?
Question?
Can we play now?
So I think the people are asking for playing. So I'm sorry to cut you, and I hope you enjoy my discussion and you understand things.
Do you have information online for people to find you?
For the moment, I don't have information online, but if you comment this video, I will do my best to answer you and to give you more information. So don't hesitate to comment this.
See you next week, guys.